The next moment, the host rushed out in a panic and told everyone to get up and run for their lives. But the audience didn't move at all. They thought it was just part of the show, something the director had arranged. Not only were they not scared, they even burst out laughing. They had no idea what kind of price they were about to pay. Meanwhile, the actors backstage were already running for their lives, but the audience in the hall was still completely confused. Seeing this, the host couldn't hold it together anymore. He jumped off the stage and bolted toward the exit. Like they say, you really can't save people who refuse to listen. Then the next second, another monster jumped down. Only then did the audience finally realize how serious this was. Fear spread through the crowd, and when they saw the monster about to rush off the stage, everyone panicked. They lost control and started running toward the exit. And all of this started in the mysterious Kunlun Mountains of China. An archaeological team had unearthed a giant skull deep inside the Kunlun Mountains. As the excavation went deeper, more and more ancient relics were revealed. Just as the professor ordered the mine to be sealed off, the ground suddenly began to shake. A young man outside seemed to sense something. When he turned around, a powerful shockwave swept across the entire mining area. When the dust finally settled, a massive bottomless sinkhole was revealed deep inside the cave. Bureau 749, an agency specializing in paranormal events, rushed to the scene. They quickly formed a suicide squad and headed deep underground to investigate. Before long, the group arrived at the sinkhole. Looking down, they couldn't see the bottom, and above them, 3 huge Buddha statues stood solemnly, watching over the abyss.
我们面对的是一个未知的文明，这个发现将会改变我们的历史。
The group immediately lowered their ropes and climbed down, but soon they discovered an even deeper chasm. Inside, scattered remains of massive creatures were everywhere. They looked like the bones of ancient beasts of unbelievable size. The expedition team had never seen anything this mysterious and spectacular. After all, in traditional Chinese culture, Kunlun is known as the ancestor of all mountains and the source of the dragon veins. Ancient texts like the Classic of Mountains and Seas and Huainanzi record Kunlun as the home of immortals, filled with strange beasts and countless treasures. When the group came out of the cave, a vast, snow-covered world appeared before them. Professor Yang pointed to a snow-capped mountain in the distance and spoke to Hawk.
这片雪山，传说中是通往古代魔国的大门。据说那里面埋藏着魔国的秘密。我感觉我白骨者。
Hawk felt a strange sense of familiarity, but that strange thought was quickly interrupted.
能查，又缺氧了。 跟上队伍。是。
李大人，司令长，杨教授，点兵情况回国了。
As they got closer, they realized it was a giant biological footprint. While everyone was still wondering what could have made it, a roar came from nearby. Then a gigantic monster slowly appeared. It looked a little like Godzilla, but strangely, the monster did not attack them. It simply turned and walked away. Professor Yang suspected it was connected to the skeletons they had found earlier. After reporting the discovery to their superiors, they decided to follow the footprints. But during the march, a swarm of red bats suddenly appeared in the distance. The team members pointed at them excitedly, but only Professor Yang noticed something was wrong. One soldier had a smug smile on his face, completely unaware that danger was already coming. The sight terrified everyone. Several young soldiers tried to put out the fire, but the moment they got close, blue flames erupted across their bodies too. Amid their piercing screams, all 4 of them were instantly reduced to ashes. The scene was so bizarre it sent chills down everyone's spine. These creatures were called fire bats. Just one touch could burn a person to ash. Fortunately, the soldiers had enough firepower to barely drive the fire bats away. But just when they thought they had escaped death, the gunfire triggered an avalanche. Against the power of nature, they had no way to fight back. Soon, they were forced to the edge of a cliff. At that point, there was nowhere left to go. Their only chance was to jump off the cliff and hope for a sliver of survival. Sliding down the ice, the group rushed into a cave filled with countless sharp icicles. Some soldiers couldn't stop in time. They were impaled straight onto the icicles and died instantly. Hawk and Shirley were lucky enough to avoid the spikes, but they ended up hanging from a rope on the edge of the cliff. As they swung in midair, the rope finally gave out and snapped completely. When Hawk woke up, he was stunned to find Shirley looking at him with affection. Just as something seemed about to happen between them, Company Commander's son suddenly jolted awake.
后王爷，
这别说，那压死我了。
Including Shirley's father, Professor Yang, only 4 members of the original 13-person squad were still alive. But how did they survive a fall from such a height? That question remained a mystery in Hawk's mind. Still, as the saying goes, those who survive great disaster are bound to find good fortune. The group lit torches and began searching for a way out. Suddenly, a red glow caught Hawk's attention. Following the light, they arrived in front of a strangely shaped structure. Everyone was confused. Everyone except Professor Yang.
这里是旧层要塔，里面封存着鬼族的秘密。这是我一直寻找的地方，终于找到了。
Then Professor Yang knelt down reverently and lit a bonfire on the ground. As the flames shot into the sky, the 9-story demon tower began glowing with an eerie red light.
这座塔一直在等待开启它的人，他一直在等你。等我？对，你和杨平一起进去。
Before Hawk could even understand what was happening, a frantic Professor Yang rushed both of them into the tower. The moment they stepped inside, the demon tower seemed to come alive. The ground around them erupted with swirling sand and flying debris. The tower itself began to crumble, revealing a massive blue horn sealed inside. Suddenly, a blinding beam of light shot into the sky. The 9-story demon tower had been fully activated. Countless ghostly figures swarmed out, and the entire area was quickly swallowed by a sinister army of spirits. Just as Professor Yang stood there mesmerized by the scene, Company Commander's son lunged toward the altar and forcibly stopped the activation ritual.
陈继福，能想打开鬼族的大门？疯了吗？想都别想！
From their conversation, it was clear Company Commander's son seemed to have foreseen this crisis. Facing the swarm of fire bats, he chose to fight them alone. In the end, Company Commander's son detonated the altar, dying together with the fire bat army. Even so, Hawk was still accidentally hit by the fire bats during his escape. On the brink of death, Shirley pushed him off the waterfall and jumped after him. Although the two miraculously escaped through the water, the crisis was far from over. By the time Hawk realized what was happening, Shirley was already inside the jaws of a giant beast. Of the Suicide Squad, only Hawk survived. That terrifying experience in the Kunlun Mountains became his nightmare. Overwhelmed by everything, he chose to leave the army and started working at a library. The librarian, Mr. Lee, personally picked him up on a bicycle to report for duty. Hawk thought his life would finally return to normal. But then, a book written by Professor Yang dragged him right back into the abyss.